everyone, it's me Eric Kumar and welcome back to my channel. For this video, we are going to talk about the photosynthesis. The processes in all organisms, from bacteria to humans, require energy. To get this energy, many organisms access stored energy by eating, and that is by ingesting other organisms. But where does the stored energy in food originate? All of this energy can be traced back to photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is essential to all life on Earth. Both plants and animals depend on it. It is the only biological process that can capture energy that originates in outer space, sunlight, and convert it into chemical compounds, carbohydrates, that every organism uses to power its metabolism. Plants, algae, and a group of bacteria called cyanobacteria are the only organisms capable of performing photosynthesis. Because they use light to manufacture their own food, they are called photoautotrophs, literally self-feeders using light. Other organisms such as animals, fungi, and most other bacteria are termed heterotrophs, or other feeders, because they must rely on the sugars produced by photosynthetic organisms for their energy needs. A third very interesting group of bacteria synthesize sugars not by using sunlight's energy, but by extracting energy from inorganic chemical compounds. Hence, they are referred to as chemoautotrophs. The importance of photosynthesis is not just that it captures sunlight's energy. A lizard sunning itself on a cold day can use the sun's energy to warm up. Photosynthesis is vital because it evolved as a way to store the energy in solar radiation as high-energy electrons in the carbon-carbon bonds of carbohydrate molecules. Those carbohydrates are the energy source that heterotrophs use to power the synthesis of ATP via respiration. Therefore, photosynthesis powers 99% of Earth's ecosystems. Photosynthesis is a multi-step process that requires sunlight, carbon dioxide, which is low in energy, and water as substrates. After the process is complete, it releases oxygen and produces glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate or GA3P. Simple carbohydrate molecules which are high in energy that can subsequently be converted into glucose, sucrose, or any of dozens of other sugar molecules. These sugar molecules contain energy and the energized carbon that all living things need to survive. Photosynthesis uses solar energy, carbon dioxide, and water to produce energy storing carbohydrates. Oxygen is generated as a waste product of photosynthesis. This is the chemical equation for photosynthesis. The basic equation for photosynthesis is deceptively simple. In reality, the process takes place in many steps involving intermediate reactants and products. Glucose is the primary energy source in cells. It's made from 2,3-carbon GA3PS. In plants, photosynthesis generally takes place in leaves, which consist of several layers of cells. The process of photosynthesis occurs in a middle layer called the mesophyll. The gas exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen occurs through small, regulated openings called stomata, which also play roles in the regulation of gas exchange and water balance. The stomata are typically located on the underside of the leaf, which helps to minimize water loss. Each stoma is flanked by guard cells that regulate the opening and closing of the stomata by swelling or shrinking in response to osmotic changes. In all autotrophic eukaryotes, Photosynthesis takes place inside an organelle called chloroplast. For plants, chloroplast-containing cells exist in the mesophyll. Chloroplasts have a double membrane envelope, composed of an outer membrane and an inner membrane. Within the chloroplast are stacked, disc-shaped structures is called thylakoids. Embedded in the thylakoid membrane is chlorophyll, a pigment molecule that absorbs light, is responsible for the initial interaction between light and plant material, and numerous proteins that make up the electron transport chain. The thylakoid membrane encloses an internal space called the thylakoid lumen. A stack of thylakoids is called a granum, and the liquid filled space surrounding the granum is called stroma or bed. Photosynthesis takes place in two sequential stages: the light-dependent reactions and the light-independent reactions. In the light-dependent reactions, energy from sunlight is absorbed by chlorophyll and that energy is converted into stored chemical energy. In the light-independent reactions, the chemical energy harvested during the light-dependent reactions drive the assembly of sugar molecules from carbon dioxide. Therefore, although the light-independent reactions do not use light as a reactant, they require the products of the light-dependent reactions to function. In addition, several enzymes of the light-independent reactions are activated by light. The light-dependent reactions utilize certain molecules to temporarily store the energy. These are referred to as energy carriers. The energy carriers that move energy from light-dependent reactions to light-independent reactions can be thought of as full because they are rich in energy. After the energy is released, the empty energy carriers return to the light-dependent reactions to obtain more energy. In this illustration, the components inside the chloroplast where the light-dependent and light-independent reactions takes place. Photosynthesis takes place in two stages: light-dependent reactions and the Calvin cycle. Light-dependent reactions, which take place in the thylakoid membrane, use light energy to make ATP and NADH and NADPH. The Calvin cycle, which takes place in the stroma, uses energy derived from these compounds to make Ga3p from CO2. What is light energy? The sun emits an enormous amount of electromagnetic radiation, solar energy. Humans can see only a fraction of this energy, which portion is therefore referred to as visible light. The manner in which solar energy travels is described as waves. Scientists can determine the amount of energy of a wave by measuring its wavelength, the distance between consecutive points of a wave. A single wave is measured from two consecutive points, such as from crest to crest or from through to through. Light-dependent reactions. The overall function of light-dependent reactions is to convert solar energy into chemical energy in the form of NADPH and ATP. This chemical energy supports the light-independent reactions and fuels the assembly of sugar molecules. The light-dependent reactions are depicted in this picture. Protein complexes and pigment molecules work together to produce NADPH and ATP. In photosystem 2, the electron comes from the splitting of water, which releases oxygen as a waste product. In photosystem 1, the electron comes from the chloroplast electron transport chain. Light-independent reactions. After the energy from the sun is converted into chemical energy and temporarily stored in ATP and NADPH molecules, the cell has the fuel needed to build carbohydrate molecules for long-term energy storage. The products of the light-dependent reactions, ATP and NADPH, have lifespans in the range of millions of seconds, whereas the products of the light-independent reactions, carbohydrates and other forms of reduced carbon, can survive for hundreds of millions of years. The carbohydrate molecules made will have a backbone of carbon atoms. Where does the carbon come from? It comes from carbon dioxide, the gas that is a waste product of respiration in microbes, fungi, plants, and animals. In plants, carbon dioxide, CO2, enters the leaves through stomata, where it diffuses over short distances through intercellular spaces until it reaches the mesophyll cells. Once in the mesophyll cells, CO2 diffuses into the stroma of the chloroplast, the site of light-independent reactions of photosynthesis. These reactions actually have several names associated with them. Another term, the Calvin cycle. The light-independent reactions of the Calvin cycle can be organized into three basic stages: fixation, reduction, and regeneration. Stage 1. Fixation. In the stroma, in addition to CO2, two other components are present to initiate the light-independent reactions: an enzyme called ribulose biphosphate carboxylase and 3 molecules of ribulose biphosphate, has 5 atoms of carbon flanked by 2 phosphates. Rubisco catalyzes a reaction between CO2 and RuBP. For each CO2 molecule that reacts with one RuBP, 2 molecules of another compound 3-PGA form. PGA has 3 carbons and 1 phosphate. Each turn of the cycle involves only 1 RuBP and 1 carbon dioxide and forms 2 molecules of 3-PGA. The number of carbon atoms remains the same. As the atoms move to form new bonds during the reactions, this process is called carbon fixation because CO2 is fixed from an inorganic form into organic molecules. Stage 2. Reduction. ATP and NADPH are used to convert the 6 molecules of 3-PGA into 6 molecules of a chemical called glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. That is a reduction reaction because it involves the gain of electrons by 3-PGA. A reduction is the gain of an electron by an atom or molecule. 6 molecules of both ATP and NADPH are used. For ATP, energy is released with the loss of the terminal phosphate atom, converting it into ADP. For NADPH, both energy and the hydrogen atom are lost, converting it into NADP+. Both of these molecules return to the nearby light-dependent reactions to be reused and re-energized. Stage 3. Regeneration. Interestingly, at this point, only one of the G3P molecules leaves the Calvin cycle and is sent to the cytoplasm to contribute to the formation of other compounds needed by the plant. Because the G3P exported from the chloroplast has 3 carbon atoms, it takes 3 turns of the Calvin cycle to fix enough net carbon to export 1 G3P. But each turn makes 2 G3Ps. Thus, 3 turns make 6 G3Ps. 1 is exported while the remaining 5 G3P molecules remain in the cycle and are used to regenerate RuBP, which enables the system to prepare for more CO2 to be fixed. 3 more molecules of ATP are used in these regeneration reactions. That's all for this video. So I hope you learned a lot about our topic today, and see you on my next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.